The Gaza Strip stands at a critical juncture. A fragile ceasefire in place since January 19, 2025, is set to expire. This agreement brought a temporary halt to the devastating conflict that erupted last October. However, negotiations for the second phase of this ceasefire have reached an impasse. The key sticking point: the fate of the remaining Israeli hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. The initial phase saw the release of 33 hostages, including 8 bodies, in exchange for the release of Palestinian prisoners. Yet an estimated 24 Israelis remain captive, their families enduring agonizing uncertainty. Hamas insists on progressing to the second phase of the ceasefire agreement before any further releases. This phase, according to Hamas, hinges on the complete withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza and a commitment to ending the war. The clock is ticking and tensions are rising. The failure to secure an extension to the ceasefire raises grave concerns about a resurgence of violence. The relative calm of the past 6 weeks could easily shatter, plunging Gaza back into a cycle of bloodshed and destruction. The international community watches with bated breath, urging both sides to find a peaceful way forward. Hamas, the militant group controlling Gaza, argues that Israel has not engaged constructively in negotiations for the second phase of the ceasefire. They accuse Israel of prioritizing the hostage release over a genuine commitment to ending the conflict. Hamas views the hostage situation as leverage, a bargaining chip in their quest for broader concessions. For Hamas, the second phase of the ceasefire represents an opportunity to secure significant gains. They seek not only an end to the fighting, but also a complete Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. This withdrawal, in their view, is essential for restoring Palestinian sovereignty and ending the blockade that has crippled Gaza's economy. However, their use of hostages as leverage has drawn international condemnation. Holding innocent civilians captive is a violation of international law and only deepens the mistrust between the two sides. The families of the hostages, meanwhile, plead for their loved ones' safe return, caught in the middle of this high-stakes political game. Israel, for its part, maintains that it is committed to securing the release of all its citizens held captive. They have indicated a willingness to extend the ceasefire, but only if it paves the way for the return of their hostages. The Israeli government faces immense domestic pressure to bring their people home, with public sentiment running high. Yet, Israel remains wary of Hamas's ultimate intentions. They are reluctant to withdraw their troops from Gaza fully, citing security concerns and the need to prevent future attacks. The Israeli government argues that Hamas must be disarmed and relinquish control of Gaza to ensure lasting peace. Meanwhile, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza deepens. The conflict has left its mark on the already impoverished enclave. Essential supplies, including food and medicine, remain scarce. The ceasefire brought a brief respite, allowing some aid to reach those in need. However, a return to hostilities would be catastrophic, exacerbating the suffering of the Palestinian population. International actors, including the United States, Egypt, and Qatar, have been working tirelessly to mediate between the two sides. They recognize the urgency of the situation and the need to prevent further bloodshed. These mediators have facilitated communication channels, hoping to bridge the divide and find common ground. However, their efforts have been met with limited success. The deep-rooted mistrust and divergent goals of Hamas and Israel pose significant challenges to finding a lasting solution. The international community can only encourage dialogue and urge both sides to prioritize the lives of civilians caught in the crossfire. As the ceasefire deadline approaches, the future hangs in the balance. The coming hours will determine whether the fragile peace holds or whether Gaza descends once again into violence and despair. The stakes are high, not only for Israelis and Palestinians, but for the entire region. The world watches and waits, hoping for a glimmer of hope in this seemingly intractable conflict.